Hello, 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 hello.
We've,
My name is Justin.
my name's not Justin. It's Peter.
That is
Hello,
it's
everybody.
Peter. Hello, welcome back to another season of football. And do not scratch your eyes. It's very, very nice to be here. Our first opponent is Charlton this Saturday. Excited,
Mm.
Peter?
Yeah, well, I'm always excited. It's nice to have a season going, even though the old one didn't finish. What with the women's Euros and the FIFA Club World Cup thing that I did watch a little bit of, but it was all what can I say? So it feels in a way like we've not been away, but let's face it, we've all been looking at the transfer window, at players coming in. Some of us have got overly excited. Others of us might have a look at it and and we'll have a discussion about that a little bit later. But it is Championship football back again. Good, 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 good. And of course, Charlton, we used to play about every fortnight. It seemed in the 90s. I don't remember, frankly, a calendar month where we didn't play them. It seemed to be obligatory. Do you remember that?
I do. When was the last time we played them? There's a teaser for you. You weren't expecting,
Oh,
maybe, but it seems like a long time since we played Charlton. I can certainly remember playing them in the 2006 2007 season, and I remember going away and it was 0-0, and it was awful. Darius Henderson missed a bit of a sitter. WFC 123 says we last played them in 2014. There you go. We can always rely on our viewers to come up with the goods with things like that. 2014. So September 2014. 1-0 loss. There you go.
We can rely on our viewers and indeed listeners to be remarkably far more informed than we are. I mean, I hope your expectations have not risen in the summer, because certainly ours certainly haven't. But there we go. Never mind. Never
No,
mind.
indeed.
Right.
So,
Well,
yes, are we going to
the
talk about
opposition
Charlton?
view.
Yes, the opposition view. So this normally we probably do this live with a guest, but this is a little bit of a pre-recorded segment. You spoke to him yesterday, I believe. Is that right?
No, I spoke to Louis after, and it's Louis from Charlton Live, lovely fellow. Well, you'll see, you'll be the judge here, and we had a chat about all things, including obviously, and this is your pre-warning. We do cover Nathan Jones, so for anybody with a obviously with a delicate temperament, obviously you might want to look away now. Nice guy, Louis, and we talked about all sorts of things, as you'd imagine.
Oh, joining me here is Louis from Charlton Live. Louis, sir, welcome. Thank you very much. And welcome back to the Championship. Must be good.
Yeah. Oh, it's great to be back. Well, I say that now because the season hasn't started yet, but I'm excited to be back. If we lose our first three, maybe I'll change our minds.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Give us a little, just one of your own personal memories from the day when there is no better way to go up than than at Wembley.
Yeah.
How was the day? Because we'll touch on. You've had some troubles at Charlton. It's been overdue a little bit of good days, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's been a long time coming. My overriding memory from Wembley this time around. So we'd been there relatively recently as well. It was only 6 years ago that we scored a last-minute winner. So I thought, right, there's no way it's going to get better than that. And the time before was when we drew 4-4 with Sunderland, the greatest playoff final of all time. So going into it, I think they're going to struggle to top that. But this was a very different experience. We had the lead relatively early, 30 minutes in, with a free kick from Macaulay Gillespie. And I just remember the second half, even though whenever Charlton go ahead last season, they don't drop points at all. So even though as soon as we go ahead, you think, right, we're going to do it. I just remember feeling so tense and so nervous in that second half that I could have thrown up, to the extent that this is really, really difficult to keep your nerves in check. And then when that final whistle went, I was in the press box. Actually, I was actually being really, really professional throughout the whole game until the final whistle went, and I just completely lost it. I was jumping up and down. I ended up hugging one of Charlton's analysts, a man I'd never met before in my life, but we were there embracing just the relief of getting through the day and finally getting back into the second tier after 5 long years away.
Yeah, it had been a long time indeed. Now we all know there is indeed an elephant in the room, and for once it's not me. It is obviously that the manager on that day was a certain gentleman called Mr. Nathan Jones. So there's a couple of things we need to do it, because a lot of people will say he's Nathan Jones. He's been at Luton twice. He was really the author of Luton's kind of going up And then obviously they have it since obviously come down, and they've gone into League One as you come out of it nicely there. However, I am going to remind the good burgers of Watford that there are some good things that we can say about Nathan Jones. He has abandoned Luton Town twice in his managerial career, as well as leaving them as a player due to homesickness. And at that point, he immediately moved to Spain. So, not all bad, quite happy with that. But Louis, we have to turn to you, sir, as he's basically lead counsel for his defence. He is obviously associated with a certain Bedfordshire-based club, and he is Rivard's for us. But as counsel for his defence, what would you say is Charlton's kind of opinions of the stumpy Welsh dwarf? And I say that as somebody who is part Welsh and therefore am able to be xenophobic to my own kind. Yeah. How have Charlton taken to him? Because it's been a bumpy 5 years, and as you say, you're back and you've done it under him. How do they see him?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny enough. Every time I speak to an opposing club for whatever, like any preview like this, I find out that they also hate him. I don't think I've gone on a show yet where they go, "Oh, we love Nathan Jones." Obviously, you guys have got more of a tie-in with the Luton and Watford rivalry than QPR, for example. I'm writing up one for the QPR guy at the moment, and he started with a question about QPR fans hating Nathan Jones. And off the top of my head, I can't even work out why. But
we are very much the open opportunity kind of bias against people and prejudice. We'll let other people dislike him as well. That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good of you. Charlton fans love him. Although I mean, it's been a rocky ride. I'll put it that way. He did have some ties with the club as well. So back in 2012, he did a season in charge of one of the youth teams, winning a trophy at the time. So he was well sort of respected amongst people who were around the club at that time, and he was known as a very good coach. So he did have that in his locker. Obviously, he had what he did achieve with Luton. When he came in, Charlton fans were very excited. He was a big name. He had his troubles at other clubs as well, which we're all aware of. But having seen him working now for a year and a half, I can understand how he fits in with a club more our size rather than one that was in the Premier League like Southampton, or one like Stoke that had just come down from the Premier League and still would have had Premier League level players who might have thought like, who is this fella shouting at me? But yeah, I mean, he's he was a bit of a Marmite character at stages this season. So or the season where Charlton won promotion. It's easy to forget from looking from outside, but actually in around December time, Charlton had gone on a poor run and people were calling for his head.
And he said something around the lines of "Give me the money and I'll go" or something, didn't he? It was quite a contentious thing, because Luton were, needless to say, looking for somebody at the time, and immediately thinking about that.
Yeah, well, that was just after. So Charlton had started okay. Like, they won the first 3 games, went on a bit of a dip. Then they beat Birmingham, became the first team to beat Birmingham, which was a home game. Nice. Nathan came out and he wasn't happy that in the previous midweek the fans had given a bit of stick after a really poor performance at Bristol Rovers in midweek, and we'd lost. So when I was interviewing him for that time, and it was one of the most fascinating interviews I've ever done with him, where effectively he said, if you want to give me my money, I'll walk away. If you want to pick the team, a lot of people have been calling for certain players to come in. And then it got worse as it went on, because we beat Birmingham, but then we only went on to win one in our next 8 or 9 or so. Yeah, and so he was under real pressure. We lost at home to Crawley. Fans were calling for his head from the terraces, and after that it turns. But throughout the rest of the season, even when things were going really well, it was always coming back to, you were telling me I'd only won one game in 9 the other week. And it kept coming back to that, even to this day. When we won at Wembley, there's a video of him walking down the stairs with the Wembley trophy and a fan being filmed leaning over. "Oh, we love you, Nathan." And he turned around and said, "Well, you effing didn't back in November, did you?" and stuff like that. He can be a very prickly character, but we all know that results are the main thing. Yeah. Now that he's proven himself, or reproven himself with this promotion, he actually feels really more relaxed this summer. I'm sure we'll talk about our transfer business as well in a minute. But he seems happier. Fans love that sort of passion, even if it does go over the top sometimes.
Well, Graham Taylor, who we always hark back to all the time for Watford, but he came out once and said, if you don't support us on our bad days, do you deserve to support us on our good days? And he didn't have many bad days at Watford. So, for somebody to come out and say it and be considered, yeah, fair enough. To be walking down the Wembley steps and still going on about it, you've got to say, oh, kind of lighten up, have a go. Let's have a look at it. Obviously, you had some players last year, and I'd really love to know about Miles Lieben, because there's a player with royalty and legacy from a Charlton perspective, the son of Carl Lieben, of course. He was one that we were looking at a couple of years ago when we were just kind of having a look at what was going on and thinking, oh, could he go on? How did he do last year? What are your expectations of him? And obviously, you've just recently made some acquisitions, and Charlie Kelman is one of those, brought in. Obviously, he was on loan at Leyton Orient last year and did well in the scoring charts. Lieben, Kelman, or is it going to be kind of Kelman and somebody else, do you think?
That is an impossible question at this time, because I honestly have absolutely no idea how Nathan's going to pick a front two or possibly, I think, a front three out of the wealth of strikers we have now. Because of course we've got Matty Godden, who's done it at championship level before and was our top goal scorer last year. But yeah, Lieben has had injury problems over the last couple of years, which is a shame, because every time he's been able to get a run of games under his belt, he's looked so composed and so dangerous going forward. He's nothing like Carl Lieben, and I love Carl. You see him on a match day every now and then, and always say hello, because he was my first hero. But Miles is nothing like his dad in terms of like footballing ability. Carl was very good at what he did, but Miles has got much better touch, much better technical ability than his dad did. Cool. So I mean, if he gets a real run of fitness this year, and he's played in pre-season, he scored against Cambridge the other day, then I'm hoping he can really go on, because I think he's got all the attributes to be a good championship striker. He's got a good touch, he can bring other people into play, but yeah, he's a nice finisher when he gets his chance to put a run of games together. Now Kelman, that's going to be a really fascinating one, because as you say, top scorer League One last season, hasn't had many opportunities with QPR in the championship. So obviously the big question becomes, can he make that step up now, where I guess he is likely to be one of the main men. I know there's a rumoured fee out there which we don't think is right, which is like 3.5 million. We think it's a little bit lower than that. But I think that's what transfer market says. But we don't. The digging on that suggests that's probably not quite right. That's just come from that Fabrizio, whatever his name is. I don't even have to know this guy's name, because he's never tweeted about Charlton until the last couple of weeks. But yeah, he put out that transfer fee, which we don't think is quite right. But Charlie, I mean, it's very, very exciting to see how he fares in our side. I only go back to the playoff final. I can only remember the last game, and we kept him quite quiet in that game. But he did score against us in the EFL Trophy for Orient last season. Orient, when they got going forward, was such an exciting team to watch last year, and he was obviously a big part of that. Energetic and a good finisher, and had some read of what Richie Wellens had to say about Charlie this morning, and he really thinks he's got the ability to do what you need, to do what he needs to do in the championship. Exciting to see how those two get on. We got Tanto Alafe as well, who was with Stockport last season, former Millwall striker. I think he'll be an interesting watch as well. He's really bolstered that front line.
He wasn't so hot last year at Tanto, but the season before, he was absolutely pulling up trees for Stockport. He was like, kind of a goal every other game. And then you've got Rob Apter from Blackpool, who's also got some reasonable goal and kind of assists, as you'd imagine, from there. I'm not going to say he's kind of going to be the next Raksaki, but he's really got some decent numbers going in there. In addition, obviously, Mr. Jones has gone home to mama a little bit, in as much as he's gone and got Kaminsky from Luton. He's gone and got Amari Bell from Luton, and also Reece Burke, their big right-sided kind of centre-back. So he's gone back and stocked up on those numbers, and there'll be a certain Luton contingent on the first day. So that'll make it a bit spicy. That'll be interesting as well. But what do you think about the rest of the business that he's done?
Oh, I'm excited. There's a real nice mixture, actually. That's the best thing about it. Because we absolutely needed to bring a bit more championship experience into that side.
Yeah.
So you talk about Kaminsky, Championship experience and Premier League as well, but he's been with Blackburn and with Luton as well. Bell has been there and done that with Luton. I think he was also at Blackburn as well, if I remember rightly, Amari Bell. But he certainly played elsewhere in the Championship as well. So there's we needed that, but I like the excitement you get of a player who's got a little something to prove in the Championship. So Apter, perfect examples. You know, had one big year in League One with Blackpool, and then the year before that was with Tranmere. And like I say, Alafe's got something to prove. Sonny Carey, who was our first signing, has played quite a fair bit of Championship football, to be fair, but needs to get back into it as well. So there's plenty of players there with stuff to prove, and obviously Charlie Kelman, who we spoke about. And I find those the most exciting, because when they've done it at the level below, then they're going to be really hungry to prove they can make that step up. So I think he's got a nice balance there. I mean, the other thing we also trying to be spending money. Like that's not really the done thing. We don't tend to spend money. I can't remember the last time we've gone out and spent multi-million pounds on a few players, and that's what we've gone and done this year. That's not where we've been over the last decade or so. We've been a very strange club over the last decade, but now it just feels like the money being spent. I know that's not the be all and end all, but for Charlton fans as well, it's a signal of intent from the ownership group, which is still relatively new. It's only 2 years into the ownership by the Global Football Partners. We can talk about that a little bit as well if you'd like. But this signal intent from them, because for all the business they did last year, they didn't actually spend a great deal of money. Obviously, there would have been wages and that sort of thing. But it's interesting to see that now they're in the situation where they have to. They've gone out and done it, and I find that quite reassuring.
Yeah, no. I mean, this year we've ourselves, gone into the marketplace, but we are not spending huge amounts on transfer fees, because effectively it's dead money once you spent it. It's great, and as you say, it's nice as a signal of intent, but potentially it's dead money. But we will see. In terms of just seeing the overall squad balance, just having a look at the other side going out. Obviously, Thierry going out. Anybody with the name Thierry, obviously football heritage, but then the kind of. He's a left back and he's not Henry, so what can we do? Any of those players who've left, who've gone, or do you feel the squad is at this stage of the pre-season? Obviously, the transfer window's still open for quite a while yet. Do you feel that stronger for it, so to speak?
I think Charlton are clearly stronger than they were at the end of last season. So the only one of the players on that list of people who have left, who people would have been sad to leave, is Thierry Small. So his deal came up, and I think Charlton fans thought now that they got promoted, they'd have a chance of keeping him. Judging by what we have spent this summer, I feel like if we wanted to keep him, we could have, if that makes sense. I feel like Preston might have offered him more, and we didn't come back and say, right, well, you're not quite the finished product yet. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think Thierry's going to be an excellent player. I think he's still only 20 and very exciting on the ball. Just needs to work on his end product. Played a lot of last season out of position on the right-hand side, and that just transformed us. That's what flipped our season. We finally had balance on the pitch down both sides. But I think, not quite there yet. So hopefully he'll settle with Preston and go on to have a good career. But other than that, the only player that had the ability to make an impact in that list of people that left was Chuksaniki, but he had such dreadful injury problems. Unfortunately, he was never going to get another contract. But Charlton have clearly strengthened, despite the departure of those players.
Fantastic. Well, look, we'll see where we get to, and we'll get to a prediction from you in a moment as we kick off our completely rubbish prediction league for another season. But first of all, we mentioned at the start of this, there's been some hardship, and because this is the first time we've played Charlton, we always used to play Charlton. It seemed like every fortnight Watford played Charlton one way or another, but we haven't played you for a little while. So for some people, they might not be aware. So here's a new section that we're going to look at, and it's called "Be Careful What You Wish For," and it's talking about the days when other owners of other clubs have had dark days, and you guys had to really come back from not being in at the Valley anymore, and then you basically sort of heroically and with the story of the single party to get back to it in 1992, and now it's a fantastic looking stadium. Looks even better than the last time I was there. Just give us just a really brief point of history about what happened back in that time and how hard you guys had to fight to get back into where you are, your cultural home, and very much your home, the Valley.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of it happened before I was born, to be fair. But
Yep.
the club left the Valley in the mid-80s. It was in a state of disrepair. The club had been mismanaged in terms of their finances. You may remember that we signed Alan Simonson around then, which was when we were in that was the equivalent of Charlton now signing Cristiano Ronaldo. It was insane, and it sounded like they spunked quite a lot of money on that deal. But eventually, the ground wasn't fit, so they moved away to Selhurst Park. They were there, I think Selhurst for 6 years and West Ham for maybe a year or so, year and a half, something like that. Was it. Which is absolutely incredible. But yeah, the club's fans from those days, fought really, really hard to help get the club back, including standing in the Valley Party in the local elections and winning something like 14,000 votes and putting pressure on the council at the time to allow Charlton to go back. And it's a remarkable story.
It is.
And then 6 years after being back at the Valley, we were in the Premier League and started that journey that we went on there, where I think it was 7 out of 8 seasons we're up there, which is incredible. Which is when the ground got built up to its current levels. Since then, we had a double relegation down to League One. We had Chris Powell come in as manager and sort things out under an ownership which then ran out of money, but he got us up to the Championship. Then that ownership ran out of money, so we got overtaken by a Belgian guy called Roland Duchâtelet.
This is where I wanted to go. Now, obviously, when you've had Elton John as your owner not once but twice, seeing somebody on a pitch with a guitar. We'll talk about Thomas Sandgaard in a moment, but tell us a little bit about Duchâtelet, because this felt really, really poor as an owner.
It was bizarre, Duchâtelet. I mean, he is a visionary in his own mind, and as to how to run football clubs. And he started a network of football clubs. So we were arguably the second biggest club in his network, which included Standard Liège in Belgium, St Truden also in Belgium, a team called Alcacorn, I think they were called, in Spain, and one in Hungary or somewhere like that, I forget. Okay. But basically, it was a massive failed project. He was majorly interfering with Chris Powell's team selection, that sort of thing. He bought a load of rubbish players over from Standard Liège and from elsewhere in the network into the club, which didn't help. Put in a really inexperienced CEO who caused all sorts of issues with the fans as well. So Charlton fans protested quite heavily. We got relegated from the Championship after all this mishmash. Obviously sat Chris Powell quite early on, went through loads of managers. One bloke, Carol Fry, which was basically signed up like a bloke who wasn't a football manager. He wasn't of any real level to be our manager. And then, so that went horribly wrong. The season we got promoted from League One under Lee Bowyer, which was still under Duchâtelet, but basically the reason we got promoted is Duchâtelet just lost interest and wasn't getting involved anymore. So Bowyer and Steve Gallen, who's now at Millwall as the director of football, I think. They basically put together a really good squad, got us up. But Duchâtelet, when we got into the Championship, didn't want to spend any money. So in your picture graphic there, what you've actually you've missed the ownership between Duchâtelet and Sandgaard.
Oh no, I was looking for the ones, because obviously we want to know about Charlie Methven, who's now part of the group there. But when you're going through thinking, we'll have Duchâtelet, and then you go, hang on, there's a guitar around this guy's neck. Tell us who we're missing.
Yeah, so basically ESI, they're called East Streets Investments. East Street was the name that the club of the road that the club was founded on. Right. Who turned out to just be a load of wrong-uns, and money was leaving the club rather than coming into the club. A guy called Matt Southall, who had been hanging around with Lawrence Bassini at Bolton, and very dodgy character. And there was he came in also with a Middle Eastern, I guess you could call him investor if he had invested any money, but he was just a man because he hadn't invested any money. A guy called Tanu Namir. And after about 3 months, those two we've failed to pass the EFL test, which is now the EFL have had to change how they do the test now because it was so bad. Those two basically never put any money into the club, had a massive public falling out because it turned out that Southall had been spending all the club's money on expensive cars and flats and stuff for himself. So that was very dodgy. There was a big standoff where some members of the club staff chased Matt Southall out of the boardroom. And then I was outside sort of throwing questions at him as he drove away. Then he did.
Interview him as he goes.
I did a little doorstep as he came out of the club. But then he disappeared. And then a fella called Paul Elliott, not the former Charlton and Chelsea defender who's currently involved. Another fella called Paul Elliott was just a nobody. And Chris Farnell, a lawyer, which Google his name. He be careful what you tweet. But they got involved, and then things were still bad somehow. But eventually, Sandgaard came in and took the club off them. But yeah, that ESI era was the closest Charlton have come to going under for a little while. Then Sandgaard came in, full of nice ideas and guitars.
What was with the guitar? I need to know what was with the guitar. So, how did he push this one in?
So he was in a band imaginatively named Sandgaard, and he just, I can't even remember why, but he was a showman, to put it that way. He massively underestimated what you needed to run a League One level football club at the time, and had his wife working when she shouldn't have been due to visa stuff at the club, right. And I think the recruitment at the time was really bad. Went through a couple of managers. We had Nigel Adkins, who unfortunately just didn't work out for him. Yeah. Johnny Jackson came in, did an all right job, but Sandgaard decided he didn't want to keep him. Sandgaard's son was made some sort of effective, maybe technical director, despite not knowing anything about football. Although I think Sandgaard claimed he had trials with QPR once, although I don't know if that's true or not, and had a really hard shot. But basically, Sandgaard very quickly sort of run out of steam and run out of money and enthusiasm. But while he was there, he was very enthusiastic. So he played the guitar on the pitch. He wrote us a song about clean sheet wins, which is a phrase.
Oh, this is excellent.
A clean sheet win, which is a phrase no one has ever used. And then once, I very rarely go to the pub after games nowadays, but once I turned up after a win against Fleetwood. It was my mate's birthday, so I said I'll come in. Just beating Fleetwood, we're about 14th in League One. I was like, it's a bit crap in it. And then the owner turns up with his guitar and a singer into the pub and spends all night playing the guitar for us. It's bizarre. He's a very strange man, Thomas Sandgaard, massive egotist. But yeah, he hung around for a bit, and then so I'll have to try and give you the lowdown on Global Football Partners as well.
Yeah, because Charlie Metham, everybody will have seen him from Sunderland Till I Die. And of course, you can take your opinion of him, but things have seemingly been done well. Is he well considered?
No. So he's gone. The interesting thing, I think a lot of people have missed this already. He's not with us anymore. He's gone. He got sacked. So Global Football Partners are an American, maybe Canadian or something, like some money men in the background, like a lot of clubs have, and then being managed on the ground by a local senior management team, which Charlie sort of led for a while with technical director Andy Scott, former Brentford manager.
Formerly a scout for us.
Yeah, and their first season in charge was an absolute disaster, and we finished in our lowest position in 98 years. This was the season before last, and basically. Global Football Partners got one of their guys, Gavin Carter, who's a Charlton fan but is Canadian based now. They sort of put him on the ground to manage the club and manage the senior management, and almost immediately Andy Scott and Charlie Metham both went out the door. I think the understanding being like Charlie was sort of dealing with more of the commercial side of things, which that didn't improve. So he got the elbow, but he's come out of it smelling of roses, because most people don't really care about what's going on behind the scenes if things are doing well on the pitch. But in reality, he got moved on. He wasn't popular at all with people on the ground at the Valley who I speak to. So the idea that Charlie did really well is a bit of a myth amongst Charlton fans, in my opinion. Yeah, but it's worked.
It kind of came across as he'd been kind of resuscitated in terms of his reputation. So there you go, everybody. Be careful what you wish for. It's a bit of a saying round Watford way. This is fantastic stuff. So, sir, I think hang on. He's just picked up an Oxford United mug. We spotted this. This is turncoatery. We're not having that.
I have a mug for pretty much every club. Although I don't think I have a Watford one yet, because we haven't played you guys for years. Yes. And the last time we went the 5-0, I was away. I don't think I'd started my mug collecting at that point, but I've got one for most clubs. So this is the one that was just nearby when I wanted to make a tea, the Oxford United one.
That sounds reasonable. We've already discussed that Louis has just stepped off of a plane from Spain. And the first thing we agreed was when you get back from Spain, the first thing you've got to do is have a cup of tea, because the one thing you can't get over there is a proper cup of tea.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Nice. Yes.
Nice old chat.
Yeah.
Nice old chat with Louis. Lovely fella. And he does a lot of stuff, obviously, with for Charlton in the kind of social media side of it, and with Charlton Live. So no, really good insight into what he had. But I have to say, I did enjoy the be careful what you wish for, because there we had three of the most obvious kind of gallery of rogues, and he went, no, you've forgotten some.
Yeah,
God,
exactly.
mighty owners.
I love the idea of an owner turning up with a electric guitar into a pub and serenading people. I think that's fantastic. That I could go with quite easily. I think that's brilliant. That picture of the ground that you had there with that long grass in the middle of the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, it was proper run down time there, wasn't it? That was pretty grim.
Well, yeah, no, they were literally nomadic, going across to Palace and going across to West Ham for 1 or 2 seasons. I mean, obviously, it made me feel as old as anything, because I remember it as much as anything. And he goes, "Oh, well, that was all before I was born." All right, mate. Thanks very much. I'll just sit here with Miss Zimmer and me incontinence pads and carry on, shall I? Never mind. Well, there you go. They're back. They're looking forward to it. Obviously, Saturday's going to be rollicking, because you've got Nathan Jones. You've got 3 players out of the Luton squad from last season, in Kaminsky, in Burke, and in Amari Bell, who are coming in. So, any number of reasons to be able to, they don't like it up them. Come on, lads. Come on. We want to see how that goes. But of course, we've got to think about, I suppose, really our squad, and what that's going to mean, and what everybody thinks. Everybody's seen a lot of stuff this close season. Let's have a look at some of the incomings, and then let's have a look at the outgoings and see if we can work out whether or not we're better or worse off for it. Let's go down here, shall we? Yes, there we are. So there's Hector Cipriano, who's come in. I saw him against Wimbledon. You saw him against Boreham Wood. I think anybody who went and saw Real Sociedad, they didn't see Real Sociedad. Anybody who went to go and see Deportivo La Coruña, that was a few seasons ago, wasn't it? Sociedad. I think we're fairly impressed with this guy. He feels like somebody who's coming in and is going to be beneficial. Do you agree on that one?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I haven't really. I mean, at the Bournemouth game, I was kind of getting a lot of sort of clips and stuff for a podcast, and then during the game against Deportivo, I was mainly talking to you and Louis. So I'll be lying if I said I studied everything he did, but I from what I've seen of him, I certainly think he looks very comfortable there, and I'm very, very much looking forward to him playing. Yeah.
I think most people would see him as a positive addition. He certainly falls into that English qualified player, even though he's a Cypriot international, as does Nathan Baxter. Obviously, the question really with Nathan Baxter is, I think most people have said, well, where does this leave Dan Bachman? Because everybody's expecting him to go out, because he's not even number 2, let alone number 1, which is clearly Egil Selvik. I think at this moment in time seems sort of, surplus to requirements. But we come back to that large contract given to Dan Bachman a few years ago, which I think he's still got at least 2, if not 3 years to run on a figure. But I think Nathan Baxter has impressed people in terms of, one, his persona around the training ground. From what I've heard, he seems to be a very genial fella, but he also is seemingly a more than able deputy, and very, very vocal, I believe he was at Boreham Wood.
He was shouting from minute 1, and consider it was a friendly. I thought, hello, he's someone who likes to get the back line organised. So yeah, he looked okay. I mean, again, it was a friendly. He didn't concede any goals, but was there much of a goal threat? Probably not. But yeah, as you say, Dan Bachman's going to be the curious thing, because I just don't see a place for him there anymore. Arguably, there hasn't been one there for a couple of seasons, but that's a different thing. Yeah.
Very true. Let's turn to Tom's brother, Mark Bowler. He's come in left back previously at Middlesbrough.
See what you did there, Tom Bowler. Goodness me.
I like there's no improvement. I did warn people since the summer. It's not got any better, everyone. He looks sort of no nonsense, kind of okay, sort of reliable. But obviously, we've also now brought in Caleb Wiley, who I'm not bringing into the ins and the outs, because it's a question of really kind of making a judgment of how much better we are than last season. And when we look at Mark Barlow, I think he's a good addition. I don't see him necessarily as a standout ahead of Caleb Wiley, but I think they're going to be good for competition, hopefully kind of chasing each other. We then get into looking at some of this forward line. Vivaldo Semedo has come in from, he was interesting. He was a youth product out of Sporting Lisbon. He went across to Udinese. He went out on loan to basically a couple of places. He went to Eredivisie and Volendam and did all right there. That was okay. But when he really came alive was when he went across to Portugal, and he basically ended up having like 24 games, 13 goals, 4 assists, and it was it was really a sort of a coming of age. But he still looks very raw to me. Haven't seen much of him, but when I've seen him, I think he's raw. But that's fine. But of course, if we look and we're talking about forwards, then the one who everybody is really kind of one, trying to pronounce, but secondly trying to kind of decide, okay, how good is this kid? Luka Keremgar is going to be, he's done so well in the last season, where he's got 22 goals, 7 assists, but it's in the Danish second division. And I think this is the question that's probably opened to a lot of people. There's obviously enthusiasm because we've signed people. There's a freshness to it. There's an enthusiasm, but there's still a question of a lot of these guys are very young. They're very untested, especially in the forward line. And we all know that, championship centre-backs can be uncompromising, difficult to break down. And so that somebody out of this lot is going to have to step up. And so it's going to have to be, either Semedo or Kieran, or of course, Dumbia, who we still have there. 3 in that forward line. It certainly feels a lot stronger than we had last year with simply Dumbia and, of course, Bio, who, everybody kind of got. I think, that particular race was run. There's no need to be too kind of disparaging about him now. But I think it just felt with him that it was time for a change, and to have in some young faces who you can hopefully get behind. Fingers crossed they do it early, because it feels like the whole thing feels a little bit, perhaps at this moment in time, undercooked for the start. I don't think we're seeing something that's completely settled, but who knows? Maybe Petzolano will pull a rabbit out of a hat and we will start like a house on fire. Who knows? We shall see. What are your thoughts on Kieran, seeing him against Deportivo, previously known obviously as Sociedad for no apparent reason?
Yes, I did notice that. He was instrumental in the build up to the goal, was he not? Was he instrumental in
He was.
Jack Greaves?
He won the ball and he pushed it through to Jack Greaves. We'll get to Jack in the Q&A, because there's something I want to say about Jack in there. And he was good. He was strong. It's going to be a different kind of game, I'm sure, for him to have to learn to play with his back to goal in a team who aren't necessarily going to dominate the ball as much as his Danish team, Odense OB, would have done in the second division. I mean, there's a reason that they came up, because they'd previously gone down and they were too strong, and the second division isn't great. But at the end of the day, he's very good at getting into good positions. He seems to be, I thought he looked game in terms of trying to, come with his back to goal and play the ball okay. Some, passes are going to go awry. I heard some people turn around and say, "Oh God, well, he's another Rajovic, isn't he?" I don't know quite what they were expecting in his first outing at Vicarage Road, but give the lad time. Give all of these lads, for me, a bit of time, because are we stronger? I think we're stronger, but there is still a maturing process that I think a lot of these lads need to go through, which includes Othman Mama, who seemed to be more of a speculative purchase. It came out of everybody was looking for the lad Papa Diallo, who ended up going to Norwich at the time. But this lad has done well in only in Ligue 1 previously, but also in Ligue 2, and he's quite a lively player. They brought him in. The suggestion was that he was probably going to be going out on loan, But the talk that came out after his first training session was, wow, yeah, he's bright, he's lively. You know, we might want to keep him and not just have him out on loan straight away. But it was a speculative purchase. Go on.
Why is his photo being taken in a cave there, or in front of some driftwood?
That is a photograph of a picture at the training ground where they all seem to take the photograph in front of that for some strange reason. No idea why. It's very sort of driftwood / abstract. No idea why they would go in that particular direction. And then the one who everybody has got firm hopes for, and as I said previously, everybody went Bayern Munich, and everyone else went Bayern Munich B. He looks like he's going to be a lot of fun. Is Nestor Irankunda. Came on for his debut with about 20 minutes to go, which is what Pezzolano had said he was going to do. Came along and played it simple. He's got a burst of speed. He should hopefully be a bundle of fun, and he's got a real dig on him. If you look at for his highlights, yes, they're in the A League in Australia more than seeing anything that he did either in the sort of the regional leagues in Bavaria for Bayern B, or indeed when he went on loan to Grasshoppers. None of that was. Yeah, I'm sure there were exciting runs, but the actual kind of stats weren't there. But he's got to be a lot of fun to hopefully get going. But what it does for us, as far as I'm concerned, we did a lot of talking about this last season. Was when we were doing well in the first half of the season under Tom. A lot of those goals and a lot of those wins came because you brought on Barr on the right and you brought on Vata on the left. And they did really well, those two guys. They did so well. And they forced themselves into the opening 11. And suddenly you're looking at the bench and going, well, who's going to change this for us? And, I think the exciting thing, at least for me, but it'd be interesting to see if anybody's got any comments in there about what you think about these guys. He's got options now. He can change it. He can switch it. Bar's not working. All right, let's get Irankunda on. Let's maybe see whether or not Marma is worth a roll off the bench to see what he had. Because once you'd got those two players either injured, because obviously we know they went through injury and a virus to poor old Vata, we had little X factor other than obviously Chak Fatadza, who's also in and around there and who can do a lot, but hopefully one of these forwards can get on the end of it. Let's have a quick look at the guys who've jumped out, because some of you probably might not remember some of these names. So let's go through the ones who aren't necessarily going to be causing us a huge ripple of issues, them leaving. I think a lot of this is, or would be considered close to deadwood, if not deadwood completely. A player who we haven't seen for ages, Jorge Hurtado. He came in, he played once in, I think it was the FA Cup against Chesterfield. I think he came on second half on the right-hand side. It looked quick and, maybe gave us potentially something, but he went very quickly off to Gillingham. And unfortunately, as might be a recurring theme on another player here, he got an injury after about 4 or 5 games. Gillingham fans were absolutely buzzing about him, thought he looked really, really good. And then he went out on loan last season to Greece with an option to buy, and they didn't buy him. He has now gone off on loan to Millonarios in his home country of Colombia. So again, not a player we're going to miss because we haven't really seen him or used him. And nobody fills that bracket better than Yao Ferreira. Yes, remember him?
Yes, I didn't even know he was still with us. 5 appearances, I think he's made in total. Yeah. 2022 or something. Was he one of the players that were brought in by the Portuguese duo of Ben Manga and the lady that was there?
Yeah, I don't think Ben Manga's Portuguese, but Helena Costa definitely was. But yeah, he was Portuguese
connection is what I meant to say.
Yeah, absolutely. He was bought in when there were other players due to come in, and they basically went and frankly spunked the budget on having a fourth right back because we wanted to do that. It didn't work. There he is wearing a Stake shirt. It should have the letters MIS or MI, because it was a mistake really there for me. So he's gone. Fair enough. Good luck to him. Off he goes. Another one who kind of Angelo Ogbonna. Undoubted class in his early games, but something fell off the wagon there. Obviously he got injured for a long period of time, and then it was, well, he's there, but he's never being used. So once again, these are players. This has to be considered driftwood that we've cut away. And nobody else covers this, and it's a sad story. But Antonio Tikvic,
the walking yellow card, yes,
the player who nobody knew we'd signed permanently, it seemed at one point, has now been sold. And sadly, he came on for his new team, and within 10 minutes had a medial and anterior and cruciate ligament injury. He's going to be out for 7 to 10 months already. But he's already gone. It's not going to be a great loss to Watford because, of course, he'd already gone off on loan last season and to a great big kind of whatever. Let's have a look at the three players who we saw more of. Might feel a few things towards. I don't know. You can see, but Mileta Rajovic, he's now gone off to Poland to play, and I think it's a good move for him personally, and fair play. We've got €3 million for him, so we've turned a million or so on his transfer fee for coming in. Great in the 6-yard box. Just a shame the pitch is an awful lot larger than that. I think everybody understood that he tried hard, and that picture was from the celebration he did against Millwall at the start of last season. But he ended up going to Bromby and playing. He made a good first impression, but as I imagine you can probably think about over a period of time, his kind of credibility ran dry a little bit as he wasn't able to keep up with other things. This week alone, we've seen Ryan Porteous head off to LAFC. Who knows? Maybe alongside what Son has Son gone to there from Tottenham? I think he was planning to. So he might go soon. I like Ryan Porteous as an attitude, but he just did have a tendency to just go barging into midfield and leaving whacking great gaps behind him, and then kind of falling over quite a lot by the end. So the problem.
I think he's one of the sort of players that when you hear about him and you hear the team that he's coming from have bigged him up, you think, I want to like this guy. I want to like him. I think he's going to be good, and I really want him to be good. And I think he fell a little bit short of his potential. I think it probably is time for him to move on. I think it is time for him to move on. But good luck to him, really. But I just think there was a lot of fanfare. Was there a lot of fanfare? There's a lot of expectation with Ryan Porteous that I don't think ever. That it never kind of matched our expectations, his actual output as a player, I thought. Anyway.
If you remember when he joined, his first game was away at Reading, and he scored the goal that made it 2-0. And I think everybody thought brilliant. Well, if you also remember, we stopped playing, and it ended up it was 2-2 in the end. But I think everybody was expecting this guy to be dangerous in just one box, i.e. the opposition's, and in the end, there were certain things that were.
It was him and Hoot, wasn't it? Kind of as the central defensive pairing, and I think everyone hoped that was going to be something marvelous, and it just never really was. I don't think.
Well, he was interviewed last year by you guys, and other podcasts on the fans chat thing, and he turned around and he said, "Well, under Ishmael, I was told to go and literally," he said, "defend forward." Go out and go and press it. And he said, some of you might not like that, but that's what I got asked to do, and that's what I did. And it's like, not sure that chasing after a guy, because if you're a canny forward or attacking midfield player, if you can go and get somebody and he's going to follow you all around the pitch, drag him into midfield because he's absolutely dead there, and suddenly you've just created the space for others to run onto. And I think that was a lot of what we saw with Ryan. Like, as I say, liked him a lot in terms of he'd be prepared to stick his head in wherever it hurt. But in terms of that, but the problem is he has gone, as has Francisco Sierralta, and we're now very short in the centre back area. Now, I was listening to I listened to a bit of the Hornets talk spaces last night, and it was what's his name, Luca Bendoni was on with Caden and the guys. Very good, well done, guys, well done for that. And he talked about Max Allen, who is the kind of reserve team centre back at Man City, so he's going to be coming in. And he said there is another one who will be coming in as a centre back, but he wouldn't name any names. He said there are a number of names in the hat. So the club seem to be, are aware, as you would kind of expect, that there are few centre backs in the building, especially after Matty Pollock got injured against Deportivo La Coruña. That we need that in pretty damn quick, I would suggest. But Francisco Sierralta in his own right, I think his high point was coming in and playing alongside Truce de Kong during the pandemic, wasn't it? And helping us get up.
Yeah, that's probably my fondest memory of Sierralta was under Xisco Munoz and that promotion season. I think the season after that in the Premier League was a step too far for him. He had that horrendous game against West Brom where he scored an own goal, didn't he? And it just never really happened for him after that. So that's another player that I think I'm quite happy to say farewell to with, good wishes.
Fair enough indeed. So let's get back to looking in the normal places where we are up here and all of that.
We have a couple of comments about signings here. So Thomas says, think the transfers have been very good. I personally would like to see 2 times centre backs, 1 times right back, and another central midfielder. Is that in addition to Sissoko, or would you like to see Sissoko go? Because I think I know what my feelings are there. He then goes on to say, this season there seems to be a clear plan with the players in, and the fact we've kept our best players. The biggest question is how quickly they can buy. I think that is the manager's approach, which is absolutely right. New manager, new players, it's all new. This is kind of going into the unknown a little bit. We don't know anything really about only what we've seen in pre-season, Petzolano and the players. So let's see. It's a clean slate.
My understanding is that, yes, 2 centre-backs, as mentioned before. Thomas, by the way, says about a right-back. I would love them to go and get another right back, because again, you've got this quandary of, is Ryan Andrews a right back? No, he's a wing back come sort of more natural winger. And Ngakia, whilst I think he had a strong season last season, personally, in comparison to him, that's, him being fit has always been the issue. Him being 100% fit, and therefore his performances being there are key to it for him. So if we play a flat back 4, is Ryan Andrews going to play in that, bearing in mind his desire to get forward and his lack of defensive capability? And if we play, as was kind of appearing to be, a 4-2-3-1, if you're going to play Ngakia there, are you giving enough support down the right-hand side in an attacking environment? So if there was somebody who could play that right-back slot but give us a little bit more quality, that might be there. My understanding is at the moment that's not what they're looking at, and you'll have seen that in various places, and I believe that that's the case. But he also mentioned on there another central midfield, and I believe that is the case, that those are the 2 centre-backs and the central midfield are the priorities at this stage. So we will see how that goes. Thank you for that. Any other comments?
Only from John Parslow, who seems to think you accidentally put a picture up of Luton's ground earlier instead of Charlton's.
Well said.
And that's it, really. Oh, and Jesse says that I love Musa Sissoko, but then we know that's not true. So yeah, that's I was just saying, the last time I've been with Charlton was when I went to that recording for that advert last year, and it was absolutely freezing and tipping rain, and it took me about 2.5 hours to get home. So if you're driving to Charlton, which I don't suggest you do, allow plenty of time, because it's not that easy to get to, and it does take quite a long time by car.
That was the advert in which the director described Justin's face as unenthusiastic.
It is absolutely is. Could you go a bit further back, please? You're not being enthusiastic enough. I'm a Watford fan.
There was this great bit on it, because of course you go, oh, there's Justin, and then the kind of the camera pans, and you're not the other side of his head. You sort of disappear. Don't know quite why they did that or how they did that, but very good bit of stunt directing there. I thought that was excellent.
Absolutely fantastic.
Well,
yes.
Well, I think it's time for what everybody's clearly obviously come for, which is now, thinking about, well, what quite is going to happen this year? Well, there's only one thing to go to. He says, why hasn't it started? Sodding thing. There we go.
It's the DNSYE.
This is the stuff you want.
Rubbish Prediction League.
No! God, please, no! No!
Yes, still as shit as always. Sorry about that, everybody. Never mind. So we come to the Completely Rubbish Prediction League. Now, last year, at the back end, it all went a bit squirrely. We'd got about 19 different teams taking part. We got all sorts of things. So we've simplified it this year. As per the one real kind of piece out of the survey was stop talking about Gwyneth Paltrow's Vagina League and all of that. Keep it simple. We're doing that. Consider Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina shut. So, as we stand at the moment, we need to go and have a look at the teams. Who have we got? Well, as ever, we've got the EFL, and for this particular one, Charlton Live are going to be basically kind of coming back in. So we're going to be having another quick word with Louis. If you remember Backgammon FC and the aforementioned John Parslow has resigned as manager of Backgammon FC, and worse news still is that it's been picked up by Brett. Everybody who enjoyed his camera work, yeah, trust me, that'll be there. But also, our Patreons are going to be taking on a weekly cycle. Who knows who it will be from there, and who knows what device they may use to make a prediction. We shall see. So let's start off with the new team, and let's go to Patreons FC, and here we are with Jason Rose.
Good evening, Peter, Justin, Carl, and the rest of the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes family. Welcome to Didcot, sunny Didcot. A bit windy tonight, but I'm here as part of our patrons to discuss and to give my thoughts of what's going to happen on Saturday versus Charlton. I'm not massively confident, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think we're ready. I have concerns over the squad. I think we're at least one centre-half short. If you consider the end of last season, we had 7 centre-halves, and now we're down to 3. And I think, we lack an experienced head in there, but that's a story for another day. I also think I worry about where our goals are going to come from. The 2 lads I've seen in pre-season games haven't pulled up any trees, but it's early days, so every day is Christmas Eve, as they say. So my prediction for Saturday's game is pain, I'm afraid. I think they're going to get the better of us, and I think it will be Charlton 2, Watford 0. I take no pleasure in that, but hopefully it'll be a slow start and then we'll build into the season. But yeah, sorry about that. So that's my prediction, and hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Well, there we go.
That's
Thank you, Jason.
not the way to start a season, with a 2-0 defeat. Come on, Jason, what are you doing there? That's very pessimistic, even by my standards, Peter. Very pessimistic, Jason.
I don't know. For this year, by the way, anybody will be aware that 1-1 was its own piece. Last year, 1-1 was rubbish. So, frankly, 1-1 is now back in play. Hadn't told anybody about that before, so only Justin is the beneficiary of it. But there we go. Let's go and see where Brett had got to. Now, all I can say is alcohol was probably partaken in this, and I've edited it down for sanity purposes.
All right, score prediction. This is the first one of the new season. Going to roll the dice underneath the playoff final victory poster. All right, I'll get with the rules.
I've done this before.
He has, yeah. He's a very experienced.
Oh, sorry about that.
That is not good.
Sorry about that.
3 goals to Charlton.
Oops.
Oh dear. It's not a great first prediction. Come on, Callum. Oh,
That's good.
it's bloody 3-1 to Charlton. But we have done it underneath this sign, so hopefully this prediction is terribly wrong.
Great,
Well,
that's
it's
another.
terrible.
It's another defeat. Oh dear. Right. Okay. So far, no one's going for a win. Good.
So far,
Okay.
the aggregate prediction is Watford score 1 goal and Charlton could get potentially 4 if this was the case. Let's go and see what Louis thought. And he was very thorough in his assessment. And then, yeah, well, let's just see
But
what
we're
he
going to
says.
turn to you, sir, for the first prediction of the season. This will then go into a table. You will be representing the EFL, and hopefully we'll be able to come back to you for the reverse fixture and get your kind of prediction for that. How confident are you going into that first game? Will the kind of momentum and the crowd be right up for it? And do you think Charlton will get the better of Watford?
I think we're going to win. I think that, like you say, the momentum around the Valley at the moment is just unbelievable. And there'll be the excitement of having all these new signings playing. Our home record last season was remarkable. So I mentioned the defeat against Crawley, which was on the 3rd of December. That was the last time we lost a home game. We went about 3 months with only conceding 1 goal at the Valley. Like, we're so strong at home. And if the atmosphere in the playoff semi-final is anything to go by, then I think the Charlton fans are going to be right up for it. It's going to be a massive attendance, our biggest home attendance on an opening day for something like 16 years, I think they're saying. So I think we're going to win. It's just going to be one of those occasions where everything's set up for us to win. We did it last time where we got promoted. We beat Stoke at home in similar circumstances, and I expect Charlton to go and win this game. I'm going to say it's going to be tight. I don't think our game's going to be high scoring this season. They weren't last season. Okay. We were the clean sheet kings in League One. We got 26 in all comps, which is a club record.
Clean sheet.
Yeah,
wins. That sounds like the name of a song.
Yeah. So we had 26 clean sheets. The irony being, we had 26 clean sheets last season. The season before, we had 5. So that's a remarkable turnaround. Clean sheet wins were hard to come by under Sandgaard as well. But yeah, no, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 1-0.
1-0. He's going for a clean sheet. 3 points going to the Valley. Fantastic stuff.
3
Another one.
3 defeats. I mean, come
well,
on.
I think we should have a quick look at what the viewers have been coming in with here. So John concurs with Jason. 2-0 to Charlton, especially after listening to Ollie, but possibly 3-0. Okay. Thomas says 3-1 Watford. New season. This is more like it. Yeah. Round of applause. Rio's letting us down, though, with he thinks we're going to lose 1-0, 90 plus 3. John, does John already had a? John's having many goes at this. Gary, can Justin pick 1-1 this season? I may not, though. What else we got here? Greg's driving to Charlton. Bad luck, mate. That's going to be a long journey, my friend. There is another. Where's the other one? Oh, so we got a 2-1 win here from Ryan.
Well done, Ryan. Positivity. This is what I like to see.
Exactly. Stuart Crickshanks, as long as we don't concede early and let the Valley get rocking, our nasty habit, unfortunately. Well, obviously, we don't want that. And Jesse says Charlton will win 2-1, although I hope not, as I'll be there. I think Duomo will score. Wow. So there is some positivity around, which is, it's encouraging to see. I like that. Oh, hang on. What else we got here now? Jake 1-2-3 win 2-0. Loser and Bar to score. This is more like it.
Well done. You got the idea. Basically, if you say we win, I create the cheers. That's good. I like that very much.
And then someone who's taken this a bit too far would be Mr. Wendover, who thinks we're going to win 4-1. But that's fine. That's fine. So is it my go now? Are we at my go yet, or is there?
Yeah. However, this year we are going for a single DNSYE entry. Right, because I think we know that Carl has won it previously twice. We can't have that again. That would just be horrific, be awful. And of course, on occasions, people might not be here, but also when you're both here, you can both argue about what the score would be, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Come on, then, Justin, it's down to you today. What's it going to be?
3-0 Watford. Of course, it is 3-0.
3-0 Watford.
We're going to win 3-0. Yeah.
This man has not had a drink in how long?
Since the end of March, Peter.
Right. You desperately need to drink. You're hallucinatory. 3-0 Watford. Okay, that's fun. Well, there we go. Any particular scorers you're picking out? Any that you can pronounce?
No. Let's go for a Kieran Guard hat-trick, shall we? No, let's not do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a Kieran Guard hat-trick. Sod it. Why not?
Okay. Well, before we wind up on all things opposition view and get to the Q&A, I think it's in time. It's absolutely time for us to turn to what may be the last, we don't know, but just in somewhat disappointing local attraction segment, because you've had a look and you think that there might be something worthy to go and see for all the good burgers going down to the Valley on Saturday.
Well, when I actually put in things to do near Charlton, it came up blank. It had nothing. And then there was the usual sort of, you can take a trip up the Thames, that kind of thing. But apparently the Beefeater Gin Distillery is not too far away. Spotting a theme here with Plymouth. Not off. Yeah, well, it's actually a winner because if you look at some of the reviews, Safari 76592867. Thanks for that, Safari, having such a long name. A waste of time and money. No distilling or bottling going on. Disappointingly uninteresting. Guy just lecturers. Never engaged us. Standing for almost an hour and climbing almost 60 steps. That was their review. There's another one here that just basically said that all they did was sniff the botanicals and get a bit of a lecture. It's not a tour. It's
like that. That's fine.
We've all had nights like that. Skelly Manchester says it's not a tour. It's a £12 gin and tonic. I wouldn't really call this a tour. Our tour lasted about 10 minutes and consisted of showing us the botanicals, which, to be fair, was the most interesting part, followed by a whistle-stop tour of the 4 stages of making gin. And then basically she swiftly sent us to the bar for our free gin and tonic. For anyone thinking of booking this tour, you're effectively paying £12 for a gin and tonic. That's cheap these days. When was this? This was posted in 2016. It's probably cheap these days to get a gin and tonic for 12 quid. But anyway, they're not very happy. So that is the Beefeater Gin Distillery, which is, I'm going to try and find the address now for you because I know this is important. Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? It's 20 Montfort Place, London SE11 5DE. I've got no idea how far away that is from Charlton. It actually looks as though it's nearer to Kennington. But yeah, there you go. That's your disappointing local attraction right there.
Well,
Thank you.
there you go, everybody. Good news is you can go and get absolutely sozzled. The bad news is it's going to cost you a fortune. It probably shut down in 2019. Never mind. I think it's time that we got to all of the Q&A. Now, of course, it's Q&A. Could have been Mr. Q&A, but fuck that, to be quite frank, so never mind. But it's all in a nice, pleasingly light blue motif. Justin, sir, some questions from Twitter have been had, and then we'll let the good burgers of Watford get back to worrying and sweating over transfers.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is from Dr. Dickie Sutton. There's a couple from him. The first one, now this might be something I've missed. I don't know. How would a club react when they discover they can't remove the tops off the bottles of water they sell? Maybe ban them. Now, I don't quite know. Has there been something about bottles of water? Is there something I've missed there?
I've always found it to be, depending on which stand you go into, whether or not they decide that you look dangerous enough to take your bottle caps away. It's just really annoying because all you do is end up spilling the whole stuff all over everywhere. How is that not a trip hazard, whereas having a bottle with a cap is? Don't understand it. No, they should be still. There's no way they won't serve anything because they can sell things, and that'd be that. No, treat us like adults, for crying out loud, who are coming in and trust us with the tops. When was the last time somebody from Watford threw a bottle at anybody? Open, shut, closed, empty, full, or any of the above? The answer is never. So, no, just grow up and treat us like we're grown-ups too.
Talking of kiosks and stuff, you sampled a pie recently at the Deportivo game. Which particular flavour did you go for there?
I went for the chicken balti. I'm not afraid of the chicken balti, and it had no ill after effects the following day. For those people who are concerned about such things, I was pleased with it. I thought it was okay. A bit pricey, bearing in mind that currently in Morrison's the very, very same pucker pie, but in probably more expensive cardboard cutout or cardboard packaging, is £1.75 down from £2.25. To find it being served for £5.80 for the application of heat for about several hours, I imagine, had been applied to said thing. But it was, look, we all know what it is. We know it's a captive market, and there will be people who will be saying, don't give them the money on principle and because of Gino Pozzo and all of this. And I get that completely. I was just hungry, and if you've seen the size of me, you'll know that is always going to technically overcome any moral sensibilities that I might have. No, it was good. It was okay. £5.80. Yeah, I can do it. When a hot dog's £6, I'll go for the pie, definitely. So, but there was steak. There was a vegetarian option. Can't remember what it was because obviously vegetarian information only stays in my cranium for very split seconds. And so there you go. All good. Nothing bad.
Talking of vegetables, this next one has vegetables in this question. Comes from Gary. It's not a football related one though. This is purely food. Why do supermarkets put sweet corn in everything? Sandwiches, ready to eat pasta, wraps, etc. Sweet corn is, they uses a strong word, disgusting, and they discriminate against people that hate it. What added extra puts you off buying something?
I love the suggestion that anything that has an ingredient that you hate is discriminatory against you. I think that's a very good idea. Yeah, I'm not worried about. I don't like sweet corn, but I love corn on the cob. That may be because I use it as a vehicle for the distribution of liberal amounts of butter. Who knows? But yes, it is one of these road things.
Yeah, well, is there anything that would actually put you off buying a sandwich? You go, oh no, I'm not buying. It's got that in it. I mean, I don't like sweet corn, but I probably would put up with it in a wrap or something if I had to. I wouldn't choose it, but if it was there, I go, well, okay, I'll eat it, kind of thing.
Well, for long periods of the 80s, I had and I'm not going to come out well of this, but hey, whenever do I? When I explained to both my grandmother and my mother that I wouldn't eat anything at home that was the shape of a tree or a bush. Right now, let me explain this. Brussels sprouts in this particular area look like a bush. Cabbages, bushes. Trees, broccoli. And the reason was this: when I was living at home, and my grandmother and my mother once said, you moved out, you're eating all of this vegetable stuff now. Why is that? And I asked them, I said, okay, just together, tell me, how long would you cook broccoli for? And at the very same time, my nan said an hour and my mum said 45 minutes, right? I was 27. I was 27 before I realized that broccoli had form. I just thought it came as a puree and that was it.
That's enough to put you off, yeah. Although I don't think you get much sprouts or broccoli in ready-made sandwiches. You might do, I guess, if you go to certain posh shops. I don't know.
Frankly, I felt they were discriminating against me as I didn't like it in Gary's way that he suggests there. I like that. I like a kind of anti sweet corn sort of campaign this season. I look forward to it.
Okay, fair enough. Paul Fiander Turner, which would you prefer, a fight against 10 giant chickens or 100 small-sized ones? How big are the giant chickens, really? I mean, are they man-sized? Because if they're man-sized, I'll take the 100 small ones any day, because you can sort of, kick them out of the way, I guess. Not that I'm cruel to chickens, you understand, but 10 giant chickens, unless they're properly giant sized, like dinosaur sized, in which case I'm still going for the 100 small ones, I think. I'm not much of a fighter anyway, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, I'd go with the 100 small ones because of absolutely the ambiguity as to how large and ferocious these giant chickens that you mentioned are. Had it been one giant chicken, it would have still been up for grabs, but 10, I'm not sure about that. So no, it'd be popcorn chicken all round in my view.
Absolutely. There's a question about Real Bedford here. It's a tweet. Someone's put a tweet and someone's tagged us into it saying Luton's a small club and only a small club mentality. Real Bedford will be the biggest club in Bedfordshire soon enough. That's from Peter McCormack. Now, I know a little bit about Real Bedford because I get told about it by Cole Campion when I'm sat next to him at matches. So do you know anything about this at all, or is this something that we need to probably investigate before we comment further on that?
Well, the historical club in Bedford has been Bedford Town, but the new guy, and I'm trying to remember where he's made his money. It might be Bitcoin or something. I'm sure it's something else, but completely. But there's a guy who is very moneyed and has decided he wants to do a Wrexham, but from the very bottom. All the way, and is basically funding Real Bedford to go up and go through, and he's making claims, and he's doing it in fairness at the moment that he wants to take Luton's crown as the biggest club in Bedfordshire. But I mean, that really is like being the best looking man in the Burns unit, isn't it? I mean, the biggest club in Bedford, crying out loud. What can you do? So yeah, he's going to do that. I know that the women's team. Because he's also invested in a women's team for Real Bedford, so I think they're going to be in the women's in the Watford women's team this year because they won the league below it and kind of moved up. So we will have a little bit of Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire contretemps going on, and of course Luton are further down in the women's team. So if they go that way, who knows? Maybe they're coming for Bedfordshire. Who knows?
Just a quick reminder, everybody, Luton Town are playing their football in the third tier of the pyramid.
Did you see it the other day? Honestly, what a fucking awful game. watching it, and it was like nobody's going to score from here. And the one moment of quality, and I'm using the word quality in the old inverted commas, was a little ball chipped up, and it was like there was a guy running in. And you think, oh, don't let it. And the Wimbledon defender got his head up to it, and you think, no, don't.
Was it own goal?
Crashes in off the underside of the bar. 87 or 88 minutes gone. And Pete Remnant starts swearing profusely for no apparent reason, according to the family. But I thought I had every reason, and practically the moral high ground.
So 2 more quickly then before we disappear. Northwest Orn says, do you think any of the youth players will get a chance this season? I'd really like Nabazada to get some decent game time, but think the new signings will block his development. I'd like to think he's going to get some game time. And Jack Greaves, what do you think?
Well, I think you have to come back down to the fact that we've got Pezzolano. The intention is to challenge for promotion. I mean, this is the key word, is challenge for, rather than necessarily achieve it, but give it a good go. That's fine, and that can only be supported. That makes it harder for youth players to step in because, you know, we've looked at 7 players who've come in and a lot of deadwood who've gone out. I think the player I'd love to see come through is Jack Greaves, who I thought put in a good show after putting an early pass straight out of touch and he kind of he wasn't happy with himself, and quite rightly too. But then I thought he was making some really dynamic runs from that kind of central of a 4-2-3-1, and I think he can give us something from there. I'm not saying for an instant he's going to get past Chakfatadze, but I think he could be an option off the bench as a player to go through. And if you are having him in there, depending on what the strength of all of the playing squad, bearing in mind we were talking about Aaron Kunda, and we're talking about Marma as well being on the bench. You know, you're going to have some options, and I think having Greaves there might be an option. But of course, another option could be Nabazada. He will give you something different, but he probably doesn't give you the power and the pace that that Marma or Iran Kunda currently do. But it's nice to suddenly have some options. I hope they are not discarded and simply put out on loan, you know, once more, because Greaves has gone out to Ross County. It was it would have been a difficult season for him in terms of adjustment to senior football, but he's done well from that. I thought he looked all right when he came back, and in the first half, as we said earlier on, combined really well with Kieramgard to get put through again with a good bending run and some good work from Kieramgard, and he slotted it home nice and confidently. I think that will help him a lot. I'd really like to see him get a few runs. What a great shout from Ryan Leo Ramirez Espan. Unless we go and sign a midfield player, he's got to get a chance at some stage. He was 18 last year. He was part of the semi-final group that got through to the semi-final of the FA Youth Cup. He's just a really tidy little player. He reminds me a little bit of a young Harry Winks, if you remember him before he went to Leicester and was with Tottenham, where he could get the ball and he was just tidy. He'd get the ball and he'd give it. He'd get the ball and he'd give it. He was one of those players at the start of last year who came out and really kind of shone in the second half against Hibernian. I think he may have been on in the first part, but a lot of youth players came on in the second half, including young James Claridge, who's gone out on loan to Aldershot this season. But we will see. But I think him and Nabazada as well. Yeah, they're good fun. And of course, what's his name? Messiah Edwards. I didn't think he did himself any harm last year. Very slight, very small. But he's going to have more options in front of him, as I say, with Iran Kunda and with Mama. So, the bar is there. They've got to match it. That's down to them.
There is one more thing to discuss, but before we discuss that, please like and subscribe to this channel. The reason I'm saying that is because we are upgrading our spaces. And as of after Charlton on Saturday, we're pushing technology as far as we can, and our spaces will not only be on X, but they will be on YouTube at the same time. So you should be able to watch it live if you want to do that on YouTube, or you can do it the traditional way by listening on X. So I'm going to give that a go. If it all falls over and we think, well, that ain't working, we'll think of something else, but we have tested it. It does work. So please like and subscribe and join us here or on X after the game on Saturday. Finally, then, Peter, the last thing was Gary again has asked us for our thoughts on the diversity officer that's been in trouble, well, probably some time ago, but has now left the community trust. What do we know about that in particular?
Well, the lady in question had joined a couple of months before the incident occurred. If anybody doesn't know, it was basically on a West London underground station site, and they started having her and a friend started to have a fracas with a lady, and it got physical. A guy who was literally just leaving, having been a London Underground kind of employee, so to speak, but he got changed out of his stuff to cycle home, kind of tried to step in, and this girl kind of kicked his bike into him and then started laying in, and it was all very unpleasant, and racist language was used, by her. And the big highlight from the Daily Mail is, well, if something happens and they can attach it to a football club, then they absolutely will do. So she was she was a diversity officer of all things, using racist language of the Watford, CSE Trust. Now, anybody who's had any involvement with the CSE Trust will know that this goes completely against anything it wants to do, and it is the CSE Trust is really what's the word I'm looking for? It is really the continuation of the work that Elton John and Graham Taylor did by making this the family club, the community club. That's what it does. And I've seen some people say, well, there's been no statement. And I did point out the fact that actually in the article that person was using to say, and the club haven't made a statement, was read the article, go further down than the headline, because at the bottom of this, it says the CSE Trust came out and made a statement. And you said that they don't. And comment was, yeah, but if they didn't read this, they wouldn't know it. Well, if they didn't read the article, they wouldn't know what had happened. Where else are you expecting the statement to be made? It's not like there's other considerations as well. Is this lady then left anyway? So she's a former employee. The statement that was made by the CSE Trust was quite right, which was, we were not told that she got a former conviction previously. That wasn't told. So that's sort of tricky. We'll get onto that in a minute. Then this occurs. She didn't tell us that had occurred or it was ongoing. Had we found out about that, she would have been suspended, and then upon conviction, she would have been dismissed as per the company rules. The company rules are there. The main question for some people is, shouldn't she have been CRB checked, Criminal Records Bureau checked, to see that there was a previous thing on there? Now, it's a difficult one, because you're talking about the CSE Trust, and you're talking about, well, even if they had that and they didn't know it, so that they didn't. My understanding is, I don't think she was working with children, which would typically be something where you would require a CRB checking to be done. It was diversity rather than kind of working necessarily as a coach with kids or anything like that, is my understanding. I could be wrong, but that is my understanding. So it wasn't deemed a role at the time that was necessary. Now, I think they're looking at, my understanding is they're looking at what they need to do in order to obviously learn from that. And I imagine they'll probably bring in more stringent kind of a review of the roles and which ones need to be CRB checked, etc. It's just unfortunate. It happens, but the lady is no longer an employee. I don't think it's something personally that the club has to self kind of flagellate itself over, in terms of, it's happened. What can we learn from it? Let's do it and then go again. It's not part of the football club element of the overall club. It is the CSE Trust. It is a separate legal entity with different bodies and different employment contracts, because you're employed by a legal entity. It's not. It's just a simple thing for the Daily Mail or any paper to attach to us. Was it great? No. Can there be learnings from it? Definitely. Where does poor intent come from this? It doesn't come from anywhere. Where it would come from is, should we not learn from it? So I imagine the CSE Trust will look at that and continue to do their good work, and hopefully kind of make it a little bit better than this moving forward. I would hope. A lot of people will look at it and say, well, obviously diversity is something that is pushed, and then you've got a diversity officer effectively, coming out with this. It's not a good look, and it's not a good look. There's that's absolutely known. But every company or every organisation in the world has some bad employees, and I would suggest that this is definitely one that was not there. But incidentally, this was not in any way, shape, or form going on in relation to the work or the supervised environment. This was somebody who was out and about. So no. Is it good? No. Is there stuff to learn and improvements to be made? Yeah, absolutely. Of course there are. And if they do that, then hopefully it will go on to bigger and stronger things.
Absolutely. Right. I think it's probably almost time to wrap up. Are we going to let people know a podcast that's going to come out that we did today, or should we just leave that for now, or shall we let people know who
you can say about it? I think you can say about it.
Okay, so we had a really good chat today with Scott Tingley, the groundsman or the head groundsman at Watford Football Club, and it was a really, really good chat. And there were some things that came out of that I was frankly amazed by. There's some good stuff there about the pitch itself, but other things that he went into that you're going to go, really? They do that as well? Yes, they do. So look out for that. That'll be out at some point later on this week, I imagine. That was really, really good, wasn't it? It's a good chat.
It was. That is going to be audio only, so that'll just be out on the podcast for everybody to have a listen to. Because, as I said at the start of it, normally when you turn around and say, "Oh, we're going to go and talk to Scott at Watford," everybody kind of breathes in and says, "Duxbury." No. This is Scott Tingley, who I have to say, for 10 years has, basically delivered. And we've been after trying to talk to him for about 3 or 4 years, actually, because it's that sort of slightly wonky, off-centre look at something that goes on. Because we all walk in and watch the game, and most of us nowadays, or for the last few years, have said, "Isn't the pitch remarkable? Why do they dig it up in May?" He explained. It's quite interesting, but it's as interesting a conversation as you can have about grass with a Chelsea fan. I would suggest. That's definitely the case.
Absolutely, yeah. So look out for that coming out as a podcast soon.
And he's a proper nice guy. He's a really nice fella. Really kind with his time and a few laughs. Great stuff.
Yeah. Looking forward to hearing that. Right, okay. Let's wrap up there. I think. Do join us after the game on Saturday, either here or on X. It's up to you. And if you are going to the match, don't drive. Take public transport or boat or something or helicopter, but don't drive. It's a horrendous journey. It really is.
Greg is driving, but he's also forecasting 4-1. In his right mind, who knows? We will see. Saturday's coming.
Exactly. So we'll catch you then after the Charlton match. Enjoy if you're going. See you later, everybody. You-ons.
You-ons.